All right. Cool, cool. All right. Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakha Kodesh. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And yeah, I have this article. I came across it this morning, and I've been meaning to do a lesson on it. And so I finally got the chance to. And so I wanted to go into this and dealing with this Davos WEF, for those who are not aware, stands for World Economic Forum, which is basically a gathering of some to some degree a gathering of the elites, where they discuss, and now they've made it, openly known, all right, what they do, but they basically discuss the direction in which they want to move the world in. Okay, and interesting that you'd have a name like World Economic Forum, and here it is. You're doing everything World Economic Forum related, economy related, and then some. All right, but nevertheless, this individual Klaus Schwab, all right, which is the founder, or so on and so forth. Which at the end of the day, he's a frontman for the higher level elites. But this individual Klaus Schwab, there's as this World Economic Forum starts to gain more traction in the public light, okay, and they start to make it more mainstream and more accepted as though it's normal and it's fine, okay. People need to be aware of the agendas of this guy, okay, the things he supports, all right, and the things that he's pushing and promoting. Now, the same individual, Klaus Schwab, there's a video of him as we've already established that he has the agenda of having people see hipped. Okay, he's down with that. But in addition to that, there was a video that was done, I believe, a year or two ago. And in the video, he basically talks about, almost to the extent of predictive programming, where he talks about a catastrophe or a disaster that makes the C hip, not the C hip, the C, the Vanessa, the CV, okay, the Demic, look like a walk in the park. And he mentioned this disastrous disaster or this disastrous event being the likes of a cyber attack that would cripple everything. It would expose global like insecurities, right? It would expose faults in the security system and all of these things. But it would pretty much be so devastating that the turmoil that was caused by the C19, the C19, will not compare to this. So as we read this article, you'll see problem, reaction, solution, where now we're at a point where they're able to highlight and officially say, look, these are the problems that we're looking at. These are the problems the world is looking at. Okay, boom, boom, boom. Cost of living crisis. This Russia-Ukraine war, the food shortage problem, the economic problem, the recession threats. These are the things we're facing right now, and we need to do this, then the third. And really, the most effective reaction that they look for is fear, because fear cripples people, and through fear, you gain control. Why do you think, number one, the Most High doesn't, what the Most High requires from you first and foremost is fear in Him? Okay? Love is love, but fear is greater and more powerful than love. Okay? So you need to first fear. If you love somebody, you could, how many people done had the love of their life cheat on them and turn on them and whatnot? Okay, and you compare the statistics to people who have others that actually fear them, and you see the numbers of who turns on who. But the point here is the reaction they really look for is fear. So the the greater control that you want, the more devastating the problem has to be. So if the cost of living crisis is not enough, if the food food insecurity warnings are not enough, all right, if the war in Russia and Ukraine is not enough, then maybe we need something more drastic as a problem. Maybe that cyber attack needs to come into place. Maybe the lights need to go out. Maybe the grid needs to go off, and not just one part, not just one country, but on a global scale. And maybe that the reaction, the turmoil, the chaos, the fear, and all of that that's caused by that problem will allow them to be able to come with confidence and present people a solution, a so-called solution. Hey, look, this is what's going on. This is what's going on. And people and they know how to work people to the point where they might not even need to present a solution to you. People will run to them for a solution, saying, "Yeah, you guys are the like during the when you read in the book of Genesis, when there was a famine in Egypt, what happened? The people ended up running to Pharaoh, which really Joseph was the one in charge, but they ran nevertheless to Pharaoh for help, for food. Yeah, because of the famine, they gave up their cattle, they gave up their lands, they gave up themselves. So Pharaoh didn't need to come to them to say, "Hey, look, I got the goods. I got what you want. I got what you need." He didn't come. He didn't need to come say that. They came running to him. And that's how you're gonna have people lining up wanting to take this C hip because they will put you in a position where you will be squeezed, you will be desperate, you will be in a difficult position where you're gonna or majority of people are going to go to them. But nevertheless, let's read this, right? So it says catastrophic outcomes. Davos elite worried about global volatility, cost of living crisis. Now, if they're the elite, they're not worried. That's a public term. They're not worried about global volatility. Okay, they if they were worried, we wouldn't get to the point where the globe is volatile. They would have made sure of that. What they did make sure of is that it did become volatile. So trust me, the worried is really the last thing when it comes to these um, controlled environments. In these controlled disasters and crises, they're not really worried, right? So it says, what happens when plebs can't afford bread, which the plebs, going back to ancient Rome, were known as like the common people. Okay, you had the plebeians and the patricians. So the patricians were more of the upper echelon, the higher class. Okay, the wealthy families, them, and then the plebs were more like the commoners. So, I mean, as he says, when plebs can't afford bread and the circuses aren't that entertaining, and this is what they would do, bread and circuses. It was a tactic that was used by the ruling class to keep the common folk occupied and docile to the things that they were really doing. So people would, as long as you give them bread and circuses, that's it. You can keep them distracted like a baby. A baby starts crying, or you have a young child that's so curious. Everywhere you are, everything you do, he's there. He's looking, and maybe you might want privacy, or you just want, So what do? You distract them, and you give him what toys? Turn on the TV, something like that. That's what they always do. And then next thing you know, he's distracted. That's the point of bread and circuses. You feed them, you distract them, you entertain them. Okay, you trap their mind. Then they're good. So as it says, nothing good. Um, which is why the cost of living or the cost of living crisis is the number one problem. According to the World Economic Forum's Global Risk Report. And so these guys just got up one day. Hey, ain't nobody voted them in. They just got up one day and said, "Look, we running this shit. We calling the shots. All right, we in charge of this." And that's because um behind the shadows, right? This is what they have been doing. All it is the shadow government stepping into the light. It looks like they just came on the scene. No, 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 no. They did not just come on the scene. They've been on the scene. So it says, according to the World Economic Forum's Global Risks Report, an annual poll of 1,200 government business, and civil society professionals. Now, there's something that is mentioned in this article, and you'll hear it. You'll see they ain't holding back. That's why I titled the video what I titled it. It says, according to the poll, there will be a little respite from energy inflation. So, like, you ain't gonna catch a break, okay, from energy inflation, food and security crisis in the coming years or months. In the near term, nearly 70% of those polled say volatile economies and various shocks are in the cards, while 20% or so of those polled say they fear catastrophic outcomes within the next 10 years, according to Bloomberg. Now, keep in mind, these, at least to this extent, in comparison of what's to come, these have really just been warning shots. These have just been like the wind of the storm blowing past you. You know, that's really what's been happening. But that the crisis hasn't even hit in full effect. People are still able to go to the store and buy food. Yeah, prices are going up, but it hasn't kicked into full on straight up crisis mode, at least in certain areas. Certain areas feel it worse than others. But especially here in Babylon, people are still going about. Things are getting bad, but it's not so bad that they're still able to be distracted. Now, as it says here, right, in quotes, very few leaders in today's generation have been through these kinds of traditional risks around food and energy, while at the same time battling what's coming up in terms of debt, what's coming up in terms of climate, said Sadia Zahidi, World Economic Forum or WEF managing director, who warned that the world may be entering a vicious cycle. Interesting, of entering, all right, entering a vicious cycle. So buckle up. It says we're going to need a new. Now listen to this. We're going to need a sort of new type of leadership that is much more agile, she told Bloomberg Television. So let's get some synonyms and let's plug that into that sentence. Okay, agile definition. So we have here agile says able to move quickly and easily. You also have relating to or denoting a method or project management used especially for software development that is characterized by the division of tasks into short phases of work and frequent reassessment and adaptation of plans. All right, but in any case, a few synonyms here. We have vigorous, sharp, acute, clever, quick moving, penetrating, quick off the mark, astute. Okay, lively. So in essence, she's making it sound like the system right now is dull, it's not working, it's dead. You need something fresh, something new, something sharp, something more advanced. But the key point here is we're going to need a new sort or a sort of new type of leadership. So the question now, okay, all right, who's the we? Number one, and number two is who's going to decide this new type of leadership? What does this new type of leadership look like? When they throw these blanket terms out here, that's their playground because whatever falls under agile or new type, that's determined by them. Who determines? Are we gonna have a poll where the world poll, answers a poll that says this is what we determine or this is what we think is a new type? No, they're gonna tell you, well, we that's you guys really we're deciding for you are going to need a sort of new type of leadership. Okay, so it says that is much more agile, she told Bloomberg Television. Next week will mark the annual WEF conference in Davos. Interesting too, because they're starting right at the beginning of the year. They get the planning out the way, and then they get to work. It says in Davos, Switzerland, where the global elite will sit around and discuss how best to run our lives. The gathering begins at a time when inflation is at a 4-decade high across many advanced economies, with interest rates far more elevated than anyone was predicting in 12 months ago. And Once again, this is perfect scenario, perfect entrance for them to walk in. Boom. All right, these are the problems. Now we got the solutions. Okay, we got the stuff. Real quick, this is the book of Ecclesiasticus or the book of Sirach, chapter 5, verse 15. It says, "Be not ignorant of anything in a great matter or a small." And that's important for us to keep in mind that now you may think, damn, I spent a minute just rereading and analyzing just that statement alone. But you have to do that because they throw out these statements here and you think it's just, she just, you looking too much into it. No, ain't no such thing when it comes to these people. There's a reason the scriptures say that the heart is deep. So they hide things in their words. And sometimes they just hide it in plain sight because they know you're not going to look. You're too blind. Okay. So we have to be alert. We have to be vigilant. We have to be watching everything, what they say, what they do, because they'll tell you. They'll say it openly. I've given this example before, and I'll give it again, where if you have, for example, if you had maybe you had a special secret guest come over, and you were a farmer or something, or your cover job is you're a farmer, so you own this farm, you have all these cattle and so on and so forth, right? And then you have your wife and children and maybe your friends inside of the house. So this visitor comes over and they have some top secret information for you. Now you have to make a decision. Is it more advisable to find one room inside of your house where you close the door and hope that nobody walks by and hears this information, or would you take your chances with walking with this agent or whoever it is to the barn where your cattle are, and then you guys can have the conversation? Chances are you don't give a damn whether there's 10 or 5 or 15 or 25 cattle, because quite frankly your view of cattle is, I mean, I can literally do and say whatever the hell I want to do. What the hell is the cow gonna do? Or what the hell is the sheep or the bullock gonna do? Is it gonna go and tell on me? Is it gonna snitch? It can't do anything. So you perceive them as having such a low intelligence level that they're not a threat. So you would rather say, hey, you know what, let's take a walk outside and you guys can be talking in the barn or whatever, as opposed to being around, family members or friends who can hear the conversation. So the reason I gave that example is these elite are to the point where they will openly discuss their plans with each other in the presence of the world, of people, and not really fear because they perceive the average individual as cattle. So it's almost like having a secret conversation in the midst of your cows or in the midst of your cattle, and you don't have to worry, because what the hell are they gonna do? You could literally be talking to the person saying, "Yeah, all these cows right here are gonna be euthanized." Now, don't get it twisted. Animals know they're intelligent. They know how to sense danger, and you'd be surprised how they can make out your intentions. Doesn't mean that they can understand and necessarily interpret your words. Okay, I mean, some, if you train them, they can understand your intention through your words. But obviously, animals don't speak English. But it doesn't mean that they're not intelligent. It doesn't mean they don't have a brain, and it doesn't mean that they cannot sense intention. So sometimes an animal can sense your intention. But the point that I'm making here is you don't perceive these as a threat. They're not gonna speak English. They're not gonna go and tell the cops of your secret plan. It's just gonna moo and it's gonna eat the grass and chew the cud and all that good stuff. Okay, so that's why they can come out openly and say, "Oh, this is what we're gonna do within the next 3 years." This guy Bill Gates came out and said, if we do a good enough job with Vanessa's, right, the Kool-Aid, the juice, the poke, if we do a good enough job with that, we can reduce the world population by what, 10 to 15% or something like that, at a TED talk or something of that sort. And people sat there and clapped their hands with smiles on their faces as this guy was telling your ass that I'm trying to cut your numbers down with this. And then they come out a few years later and they say, hey, look, the same guy who said he's trying to give you the poisoned apple, right? Like from them Disney movies, he's trying to give you the poisoned apple, comes and tells you, hey, here's the poisoned apple. That remember I was telling you that I'm gonna give these apples out. If you eat them, some people gonna die, some people not. And then he brings the poisoned apple, and your ass sits there and bites into it. And then as you eating the apple, we show you, hey, didn't he just say that the apple was poisoned like a while back? Oh, you guys are just conspiracy theorists, man. You tripping, man. You tripping. Here it is, you catching all types of hell, going through all types of infirmities. The apple done messed you up, and you still eating it. You in a hospital bed talking about, yeah, you missing out, man. You missing out. This apple is good. That is the level of intelligence that majority, not everybody, but majority of people have come to where if you notice, they're coming out more and more, and they slowly or gradually reveal their secrets. And even though people are like, "Yo, these guys are, the government is doing this, the government is doing it," ultimately they're at the point where they're like, "So what? What are you gonna do?" Yeah, we did it. Yeah, we doing it, and yeah, we gonna do it. Now what? That's the energy they eventually. That's what they're coming with. Revelation chapter 12, verse 12. Now what? And truly, now what? Because what are people gonna do? Nah, see, this is why we gotta get them guns. You know what I mean? We gotta strap up, we gotta be, zooted and booted and not afraid to bust. And then you end up in jail, you end up behind bars, you end up shot dead, whatever. So anyway, let's go back to this article. So it says the report calls for global cooperation and warns that if governments mishandle the current crisis, they risk creating societal distress at an unprecedented level as investments in health, education, and economic development disappear, further eroding social cohesion. So, in essence, don't let a good crisis go to waste. You have a good crisis in your hands. And if you're not careful, you risk creating social distress at an unprecedented level, something never seen before. But there's more. It says increases in military expenditure could reduce support for vulnerable households, leaving some countries in a perpetual state of crisis and set back the urgent need to tackle climate change and biodiversity loss. The worst case scenario, according to the report, is the risk of geoeconomic warfare, in which geopolitical rivalries are likely to increase economic tensions, exacerbating both short and long term risks. In this already toxic mix of known and rising global risks, a new shock event from a military conflict to a new virus, virus could become unmanageable, according to Zahidi. So let's hope. Put that in quotes. Let's hope that no new conflict or new shock event happens now as the economy is already struggling, because that could be a real trouble, a real problem right there. It says climate and human development, therefore, must be at the core. Human development. What is human development? What you mean by that? You don't think humans are developed enough? Oh shoot. Anyway, we already know where they're going with it. Okay. It says therefore must be at the core of concerns of global leaders to boost resilience against future shocks. So they're no in no way, shape, or form shying away from the idea that there will be future shocks. You got Billy Gates. I saw something about him saying that he wants to put the poisoned apple inside of your food and do all of these things. Also, they want to set up some global surveillance system and whatnot to better prepare for the next demic. And nobody asks, how do you know that there's going to be another one? It says, what's more, the report also warned that the interaction of a cluster of risks can cause a cascade of future problems in a polycrisis, such as a resource rivalry in which countries compete for natural resources. So you can have a polycrisis, you have multiple crises. Now, the thing about these devils is usually when they put information like this out about, oh, there's a possible danger that this could happen, it usually happens. Was it? Is it Murphy's law that says, um, if anything can go wrong, it will go wrong? Something along those lines. Let me see. Uh, Murphy's law. Yeah, Murphy's first law. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. And when you watch what these, like for example, even prior to the whole um uh back when they were talking about like election, fraud and all of these things, that the second they started pushing that, okay, the second they started mentioning it being a potential issue, it became an issue. Okay, so usually that's how these devils move. They'll come and tell, hey, this guy, this Billy Ho ass Gates, he came out. Oh, we have to watch out because there's a potential that we could face. Then boom, it could go wrong, and then it just so happened to go wrong. So I mean, you're dealing with the devil here, right? So you gotta be on your toes, your p's and q's. So in any case, I want to read this, and then Lowell and I'll close it out. This is the book of Micah, chapter 2, verse 1. It says, "Woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds," because all of these things they do it in the name of the betterment of the world, the betterment of society, but at what cost? First off, the problems so these issues were not issues when the Babylonians, the Egyptians, the Assyrians, the Medo-Persians, the Greeks, the Romans were ruling. Up until now, why ain't none of them talk about overpopulation, climate change? Let's do all this. Now, of course, you've had secret societies, throughout. But I mean, this devil in this time, he just, and they push it in the name of health, in the name of safety, in the name of peace. I don't want peace, you know. But at the end of the day, the intention, the effect of these plans, these devices, is going to be evil. It says, when the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand. So we're about to see the kind of power the Lord has given Esau as he unleashes the sword upon the earth, and great judgment is about to go out. So I mean, now is definitely not the time to let your guard down. The water to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai for giving us the spirit to be able to discern the times, because we know that when things get quiet, that's when you have to be most on guard. Contrary to how the world thinks, when things get quiet, they let their guard down. But as the saying goes, what was it? Good times make weak men make hard times make strong men make good times. Well, you got to stay strong at all times. And as the scriptures say, endure hardness. Okay, that's the spirit. As a brother GMS, good soldier, yeah, 144. So endure hardness as a good soldier of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. So anyway, with that, I'm going to end it here. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachak Wadash. Until next time, Shalom.